night, everybody. There you are.
They can get started. Call to order the Perry Township Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, April 5th. I need a motion to approve the March 8th minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second for Sharon Wing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Approved. No old business. We've got new business. We've got the zoning planned overlay district. That we've got. I'm going to move it to Pete to kind of lay out how this is going to proceed, and then on to Joe to give explanation.
So thank you, Pete Griggs, Township Legal Counsel. So just kind of a broad overview, and I know that some of you may be familiar, but several months ago, the township instituted what they call an overlay zoning, which in essence rezoned the property. At that point, the township decided that the appropriate use of that zoning would be residential. It also, as part of that overlay, established a series of standards that anybody wishing to use that zoning comply with, and made the zoning commission the reviewing body to determine compliance. So those issues that you normally see with a rezoning, like traffic, do we even want it? That was decided months ago when the overlay was instituted. That was the legislative decision that was made, not only by the zoning commission, but the trustees. So tonight, what we have is we have an applicant who is coming in to have that particular cloud brought down on their property. And so the zoning commission's job tonight is not one of a legislative policy decision making. It's one of do they comply with the standards in the district, and also the intent of the overlay district. It's not a matter of do we want this type of use anymore. It's do they comply with the actual standards. There are, as the applicant, and I don't know if Joe is going to go over them, but I'm sure the applicant will, and it's been part of their application. There are a series of what we call divergences from those standards. A lot of it has to do with the uniqueness of the property and the characteristics of the property, and obviously it's very common in my experience. You can't plan for everything, but I've reviewed the divergences. They're fairly typical, and then I know the applicant has committed to having a lot of those issues reviewed and approved by Beth and Joe, the zoning department. So that's kind of where we're at. Administrative review only tonight. Joe probably could give a little more of a history as to how we got to this point.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Joe Smalley, Development Director. To back up what Pete, this went through the entire public process. There were several public hearings, etc. It was introduced by the trustees. It was then taken to the zoning commission. Zoning commission then reviewed it. The zoning commission then made a recommendation through a public process back to the township trustees. Township trustees held a public meeting on that. It was held. I don't believe there were anybody in opposition to the zoning at that point in either one of those hearings. And it was voted upon, and the 30-day referendum took place without any arguments, any referendum, etc. So the zoning was effectuated at that point. And as Pete indicated tonight, is a process of taking a look at what their application is, the completeness of the application. Did they address the issues that were required in the zoning text? in order for it to be pulled down and rezone the property. And with that, our work session that we held, the minutes you just approved, I ran through with the board that myself and staff and one of the members of the trustees reviewed it in quite a bit of detail. I can tell you that I've been over the plan at least 5 times. We relayed quite a few comments to the applicant after the first episode. We relayed probably another 20 comments after the second episode. And after the third episode, we were down to 3 or 4 items, which the applicant has either handled and addressed on all the drawings or has agreed to handle or address. So it is the staff recommendation that, given review of the divergences with the township attorney and ourselves, the divergences mainly deal with the uniqueness of the property and the fact that there are potentially up to 23 homes that can be approved here. And the divergences deal with, and they're in your packet, there's quite a few, but it deals with a landscape plan for each individual home. Well, if the home hasn't been laid out, it's really hard to have a landscape plan, those types of things. As to the bigger issues, the overlying issues, we've reviewed it. We feel that they're in compliance with the zoning text as written. And our recommendation tonight is for approval. With that said, I'll turn it back over to you and go from there. All right.
Thank you, Joe. At this time, I think I'll give the applicant a chance to say anything that they want to, or are they here?
Yeah.
Or unless you don't want, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Thanks for the consideration. It'll be a very nice addition.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Beth, do we have any slips for any speakers or anything?
I have not received any speaker slips, but Mr. Nemeth, Mrs. Nemeth, was there anything that you'd like to add?
I mean, if I can just add a little testimony, I mean, obviously, I'm quite against this. And if you come to my house and look in my backyard, I'm going to see 23 houses in my backyard. And I moved to Brookside Estates 17 years ago because it was estates. They were acre and half acre lots with a little bit of room in your yard. And what I signed up for is not to have 23 houses looking at me in my backyard. And it's just quite upsetting. And quite frankly, I'm starting to look for a new house right now because you can see I'm really upset. And I think the neighbor to my left of me and the neighbor to my right of me, who really are in the whole area of this construction, probably would testify exactly in my agreement that this really doesn't fit the aesthetics of our neighborhood. And I know that there's really nothing I can do or nothing I can say that will change this. But, you know, there's one thing I just am really concerned about is there's a sewage creek that goes through there that runs through all of our, you know, of our aerators. And what's going to happen with that? And also what's going to happen with the wildlife back there, because we're just limiting all this area back there. And it's really upsetting because now I'm having deer in my yard even more so. And it's just a little upsetting. You know, I could see the animals are a little upset too. And, you know, if you look at the aesthetics of that property in that area, I'm just surprised they're building on that because it's decomposing land. And I'm just really shocked. And I understand that there's not a whole lot I can say or do about it, but if you were to look in my backyard, I think you'd feel even the same as what I feel. I'm done. So.
Thank you. And just for the record, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Nemeth, but your address is 2930 Brookdown Drive. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'm the start of this. If you look at the whole plans, my property line is actually the start of this whole thing, which I'm hoping as a township, you guys verify that survey line too, to make sure it's accurate. Because if you look at where the center line of that road goes through and where the houses are, there is like no room back there. I mean, I had a builder, because I was actually going to add on to my house, and he laughed at it. So I don't know. I'm just really upset about this. So I'm really sorry to get a little excited, but I can't help but at least say something. And, you know, to say that there was a public meeting about a zoning, I never got any invitation to that. So for opposition, I'm 100% opposed to that. So I don't remember ever getting an invitation.
I
Go ahead, Jeff.
just like to address his concerns about the property back there in the creeks, et cetera. We are looking at the zoning this evening, and Franklin County is our engineer. And this is not dealing with any of their approvals through Franklin County Engineering Office. They do have to go through the complete process with the Franklin County engineer, who will address all of those issues, et cetera, as to what is being disturbed, what isn't being disturbed. I would just indicate that this is private property. They're entitled to private property rights, just like anyone else has. And this is dealing with the zoning this evening.
Thank you, Jeff.
Don't have anything else.
All right. Do any of the members have any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, sorry. So I do have a question. I don't know if my husband
Your
asked
name?
it. Oh, sorry.
Your name? and
Sean Nemeth,
Where do you go?
2930 Brookdown Drive.
Okay.
So quick question, so when these go to Franklin County, are they going to be taking into consideration like the sewer and all that kind of stuff? And do you think that there's going to be asked any additional costs from the homeowners, the existing homeowners, that we are going to be required to fund any changes?
I can't envision a reason why there'd be any additional cost to any of the existing homeowners. And yes, sewer, water, stormwater management, creek, environmental concerns, all that will be addressed by the Franklin County Engineers
And
Office.
even the existing, right? Because where you
Yes.
have the houses running right through the creek of my sewer.
Yes.
So I was thinking it's gonna run under the house?
No,
Yeah.
no, that will all be addressed by our engineer.
And how do we, so as long as, I mean, as long as you're addressing and we're not going to incur, like, that was the thing, is there gonna be like a $10,000 incurrence where we have to hook up to sewer or something coming in
Do you
here?
currently have sewer?
No.
No.
It
Okay.
runs off into that creek. We have an
You
aerator,
have an
it runs
aerator.
off into the creek, and so does all the houses in there. So it all comes down to that creek and ends up in that pond.
Yeah, that will all be handled by the engineer. If
Okay.
it's not appropriate, they can't handle it, then they don't have a project.
Okay.
Isn't that stuff, I'm sorry, I'm Phil Levinoff, I live at 2965 Greenville, I'm one of the four that orders this project, and it seems like you're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. I mean, I don't know if you've been down and seen the site lately, but the trees are gone, the road is roughed in, but permits aren't there, doesn't sound like yet, so I'm kind of curious how that works.
Well, what they have a right to do, like any other private property owner, is we don't have a tree preservation plan in the township. They are free, like any of you, to tear down any trees that they want to tear down. So in the end, if they don't get permits, then they've taken out trees that they were entitled to take out. They don't need to replace them. You know, so it's just like if you were on your property and you take down a tree, you are under no obligation to replace that tree.
But this goes directly against what they said at the town meeting we did have, where they were gonna keep any tree, I think it was 6 or 7 inches in diameter and larger intact.
What
That certainly isn't the
what they have committed to keep are as many trees as they potentially can, but you need to build a road and you need to build
I
a house.
understand the road.
That
part
wasn't
of
the
it.
agreement.
And that's what they're doing. What they've done is, due to the Indiana bat, which starts its mating season after March 31st, they needed to go in there and take out the trees prior to that date, so that there was no nesting by that prior to that date, which is a pretty typical development standard around Ohio, and that's what they did. So if they wanted to go in there and clear cut that, they could go in there and clear cut that. We have no controls over that.
See what I do to my property on the outside of my bill.
I hope that answers your question, but they're not, you have rights, they have rights, and we don't control tree preservation, et cetera, in the township.
And I would agree with the gentleman, your husband, that I certainly never got any notification of a prior public meeting on this either.
The notices, there were at least 3 public hearings, and they were all in line with the Ohio Revised Code notification and the requirements
Where are they
contained therein.
posted? Where are they posted, the notifications of these meetings? Because this one came in the mail. None
I
of the
never
others.
saw an invitation.
Yeah, there's nothing. There was
Property owners
nothing
within-
posted.
Property owners within 200 feet of the property
Mm.
were notified.
No.
Within 200.
That's
feet.
me and I wasn't.
How am my property
Not
backs
a-
up
not
to
a
yours? Like,
reside.
I'm getting ready to put private property, no
So-
trespassing, so don't cross my creek.
So, yeah, so again, where we're at tonight is you have a pending application. And the rezoning has already occurred, the overlay is already established, and what you're considering is looking at the site plan.
Correct.
But could you answer the question how these notices were supposedly sent out? Like I said, the one for tonight came in the mail. I got. that.
So this is what we'll do.
That's
I will get with Beth
Yeah.
and we will get everybody answers. Okay?
Yeah, because I think legally, someone has to notify us, and we weren't notified. I even thought about reaching out to Chip. I used to be the president of the civic association, so I'm very familiar with how they notify.
And that'll be a staff then, that's outside of this board's purview. That is up to the staff on that part to answer that. And then
Right,
get-
we'll go
get
back
that-
through the
yeah,
We'll get a,
records to look back.
I'll work with Beth. We'll get an appropriate response.
So at this point, is it fair to say that the only thing that could hold this up would be if Franklin County during their inspections don't find something that's up to snuff?
If this zoning board tonight feels that they're in compliance with the zoning, then yes, that would be the only thing that can hold up.
So to be in compliance with the zoning, don't you have to notify the residents? So I think that, we weren't notified. I'm
You-
positive of it.
right.
Of all the
So-
people who were notified of this. I mean, I was notified more of that.
I don't mean to be rude, okay?
Yeah,
What I told you is that I will get with Beth. We will provide you an explanation as to how the publication of the overlay was established. That's not tonight. That already happened. Tonight is compliance with the overlay standards, and you were notified of the hearing tonight. So that's why we're here tonight, is determine whether or not the site plan is in compliance with the overlay.
does our rights legally change at all?
I
once
can't,
you
I
guys
can't,
do
yeah,
the
I mean, I'm
zoning
not, I
approval
can't
versus
averse, yeah, I
after?
can't advise you. Unfortunately, I'm not your attorney.
He's a different council. He's
But you're
I represent the
zoning, but you're the
township.
zoning for Perry Township for the
I am.
residents, correct?
I am the Board of Trustees attorney, correct?
So as a resident of Brookside, I would
Right.
like to ask that we don't approve this until the questions are answered.
That's not what's here tonight.
Okay.
So, I need a motion to approve the application and development plan, including the requested divergence submitted in case number 157-RZ-22 by BCC Cottages LLC, which application consists of a request to submit the identified property to the regulations of the Perry Township Zoning Resolution for the Brookside Planned Overlay District on the basis that the application complies with the applicable provisions of the Perry Township Zoning Resolution for the Brookside Planned Overlay District.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, I need a second. Second by Lucy. I need a roll call vote.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Clay,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion has been approved. Beth, do you have anything else, any other reports or anything?
I do not.
I just would like to make sure whoever wants to receive the response on the notification of the overlay, that they let Beth know, and we'll get them an answer. Okay.
My turn, and there's all right, Andy's got it. If everyone signed that. Is that a problem with me just sending it to everybody on that list?
No, you can,
I'll-
yeah,
I'll
you can
make-
send it to everybody. on
I'll
the
send
list.
it
That's
on to
fine.
anybody and everybody on that list.
All right, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.